Hello friends, Leigh Brown here. Welcome back to My Kitchen, My Rules. Now I'm going to tell y'all one of my favorite memories as a kid were winter days. Our house was heated by a wood stove. We did not have central heat and air, and yes, that kind of gives away my age, but you know, is what it is. You young people do not know how easy you have it. Although I will say, we had much better arms because we had to go split wood to have enough for the winter. Well, whenever we got the wood stove going good, if I was lucky, my daddy would make fresh bread. He was the king of bread. And these again are secrets you might not know about Daryl Thomas if you know my dad, but he was the bread king. So today I'm going to show y'all how to make an easy yeast rolls, which will make your friends and family happy. As I look around and try to figure out where my bowl went that I had in my hands 2 seconds ago. I don't know how I do this. So let me look over here and find my bowl again. All right. And we'll just grab this one. Okay. That's, of course, how My Kitchen, My Rules operates. Now, to make bread, you're actually going to have to measure. So this is not your usual Leigh Brown recipe with a lot of guesswork because this is chemistry. So you should probably go gather up the young people and let them learn with you because this is science in action. And if you're a homeschooling parent, I really hope that you are focused on using cooking as a way to teach science. But anyway, we're going to start with getting our yeast activated. Now, I buy yeast in the large jar from Fleischmann's. You can buy those little packages too. And you should keep it in your freezer. It keeps the yeast from dying. It's very important. So also pay attention because in the supply chain shortages, you'll notice yeast vanishes. That's because some of us make home bread. What? So when you see it, grab it up. All right, I need warm water, which is why you heard my sink going over here a minute ago. And by warm, I mean not scalding hot. You hopefully know the difference in warm and in hot, because you don't want to kill your yeast, right? So you want to have it where it will activate them, but not kill them. So we're going to get 2 cups here. And by the way, yeast rolls are one of your more forgiving kinds of bread. You don't need a bread machine for this. So you can do this at home. And actually, if you have a nice warm place like a wood stove yourself, get your fire pit going, get your gas logs going. That's another reason I'm ready to make bread today because our gas logs are going. So we got 3 cups of warm water here. And now, you know what we need that you might not know about? Our Dixie crystals. Because you need a little white sugar for yeast rolls. And friends, if I'm putting sugar in things, I've told you before and I'll tell you again, there is no substitute for Dixie crystals. They have been around since 1917. So many fewer calories in a teaspoon or a tablespoon of this. And it does not mess with your liver and your insulin like the artificial stuff does. Get away, y'all, please. I'm begging you because I love you. Get away from that artificial mess. Okay, so we need 1 tablespoon of white sugar. We're going to sprinkle it into our warm water here, kind of get it evenly distributed. And then because your water is warm, it should dissolve fairly easily, which, by the way, is a secret to sweet tea. You put the sugar in while it is still warm and it will dissolve. Maybe I should show you how to make correct Southern sweet tea on here. I had not thought about that. So if you'd like me to show you how to make sweet tea the right way, drop me a note in the comments here. And by the way, y'all can let me know what you want me to fix because I got a lot of recipes I hadn't fixed yet. And that's also why you hit subscribe and leave me love in the comments because I enjoy it. And also because if you want a free bag of Dixie Crystal sugar, you put in the comments, I need some Dixie Crystals, Leigh. I love my Dixie Crystals. I'll hook you up because they sent me some coupons. Okay, so now you need 3 packages of yeast, or because I buy by the jar, you've got 2 1/4 tablespoons equals 1 package. So I need 3 packages worth, so look with me here. So that is, well, I'm kind of sprinkling it around the top. You notice this? We can activate all of the yeast particles, and that's 1. And then we have 2, and you can actually smell yeast when it's still fresh, and 1/4. So 2 1/4 is 1 packet. I need 3 packets worth. I should probably stop talking now. So there's my 3/4. Okay, so all the quarters are in there. I need 6 total teaspoons. I got 2. There's 3. And then I've got 4. And if you're doing this right, and if your yeast is okay, you're gonna see it start to foam at the edges, and that is normal, so do not panic. I just lost count. Please, Jesus, let this have been my 6th one. Okay, I think it was. If it's not, I'll be starting this video over, full disclosure. So now you're gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes. And while it is sitting, you will notice it's starting to foam up at the edges, and that's telling you that your yeast is getting activated. Now, while that is setting itself up, let me check my watch here. The next ingredient you're going to need is some milk. So I've got my milk here from the Lowe's Foods. And it doesn't matter if you're using whole, 2%, 1%, 0.5%, or skim. I do not know if you can use almond or oat or any of the non-dairy milks. So one of y'all can try it and let me know, but I'm pretty sure the texture will be wonky, but you know, you let me know in the comments. I'm gonna stick with the normal. So we need a 1/4 cup of this. So let me just get that prepared while my yeast is starting to wake up over here. I need just a 1/4 cup, which should be the bottom line. Uh-oh. I got too much in there. I got 1/3 of a cup, so let me even it out. We don't want to waste it, you know. Milk is precious. And Lord knows it's gotten rare at the grocery store these days. And it's gotten high, so I don't want to waste it. Lord, I'm taking little sips. Okay, there we go. Now we got a 1/4 cup of milk. And there's my lids on here. You need 2 eggs. And today we have brown eggs. I'll tell you that the difference in brown eggs and white eggs is just the chicken that lays them. You just need to make sure they're at least large. Extra large is fine. Jumbo, you might be getting a little bit bigger than your recipe can handle. And then medium, I don't know who buys medium eggs, frankly, because I think that's weird. So go with large or extra large. And the rule of thumb in our house is whichever one is cheaper, so when we buy. Okay, so I'm looking at my yeast here. Trying not to stare at it because it's kind of like if you watch water boil, it won't ever boil. And then you also need some salt. I do not use kosher salt for this because I need your regular iodized salt. So those are the next things we are going to put in as soon as our yeast has gotten itself activated and foamy. And it's coming. I guess y'all can see it over here on the side camera. Let me move my side camera where y'all can have a look at it. All right. See where around the edges is starting to get busy in here? All right. There we go. So you're also going to need a lot of flour today. So what kind of flour are we using? I want to hear you in the comments before I say it in 3, 2, 1, White Lily. And so we're using White Lily all-purpose. Now there is bread flour at the store for yeast rolls. If you want them to be light, you need to use regular all-purpose white flour. If you get bread flour, it's a different density altogether. So if a recipe wants bread flour, y'all, it will call for it. So we are using our regular White Lily today. Now, why is White Lily the best? Look, I'm gonna tell y'all, go ahead and buy 3 bags of it at the grocery store, line them up side by side and tell me which one is the lightest and the most finely ground and the most beautiful and silky soft, and you will say, well, it's White Lily. Exactly. Do what Southerners do. We know how to eat, people. That's what we're known for. So you're gonna need a bunch of flour. You're also gonna need some Crisco, and you can get butter flavor if you want. That will just make your yeast rolls a little bit buttery flavored. I like the one that is as close as it can be to the original, so I get my original Crisco. And then we're gonna need some butter. And so butter is for the very, very end when you are ready to make them perfect in the oven. So for now, I'm just gonna say la 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 la. I gotta tell y'all, I don't know why we don't reposition cooking as cool, especially with the young people, because I literally could stand here and stare at this yeast all afternoon because I love watching it activate. And I wish I had a microscope so I could watch it happen like I was in the science class. I had Miss Bowling for the biology, and I've already forgotten who I had for chemistry. Mr. Gandy had moved to Providence High School, and we were very upset at Northwest Cabarrus that Mr. Gandy changed schools. All right, so we are now around the 10-minute mark, and we've got a good layer of foam going, which hopefully you've seen over here in the B-roll, and these cool little valleys for where it's fallen into the warm water. Next thing we're going to do is add the milk and the eggs and the salt into the yeast. And I'm going to start with the salt because we need a tablespoon of salt. Let's try and open. If I have a new box of Morton's, it's fun to go through entire boxes of staples. And I keep extra salt around here all the time because, I mean, the last thing you want to do is run out of salt. Can I get an amen on that? I can't get into the container. Fiddle around with it. All right, now again, you notice I'm measuring. I usually just go salt by the skin of my teeth, but let's do it the right way. All right. There we go. Got our tablespoon of salt. Then we're going to add in, I love it, it so moves around. It's alive, it's alive. Need our 1/4 cup of milk. And then we need 2 eggs. So let's get 2 eggs. And I'm very excited because we will soon have chickens at our house. And as soon as I have chickens at my house, I will have eggs out of my backyard. Woo, can't wait, can't wait. And so maybe I'll have to start another channel with the lessons of being new to chickens, because I have not been around them since I was a really little person. My family didn't have them all the time, but the lady that kept us when we were real little had chickens, and she let us go get the eggs out of the boxes. And that is quite the treat when you are a little person. So let's mix that in here. All right. Now, make sure you get your yolks broken up nicely. And if you're worrying about what the yeast looks like floating on the top, I'm just gonna have to stress to y'all, don't worry when you're getting something started, because this is a multiple step project. It's not hard. Requires a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, a little bit of love. And you know, if you're one of those people where your fire has gone out a little bit in your heart and in your soul, highly recommend that you cut off all the social media. I mean, it's after you watch my videos, of course. Cut off all the social media, get your ingredients together and cook. You're forced to slow down a little bit. When you slow down a little bit, your fire tends to come back. All right, so we got that mixed up. Now we're gonna get our dry ingredients together. So we're getting a separate bowl, because for this one, again, we follow the rules. Now we need 10 cups of flour. So let me get my measuring cup. And I know you're thinking, ah, but see, that's because most of the things we make aren't just, you know, straight bread. So there we go. All right, so let's get 10 cups. Now, I'll just point out that when I'm getting it out of my canister, I try to stir it up first so that it's not completely packed down. You don't have to sift it, but packed down is a different density, and therefore it's a different volume, and therefore it can monkey around with your ingredients. So we want to make sure we're getting it as close as possible to correct. So there's 2. And actually, I'll get my fork and break up the edges here in my canister. If I needed a new bag for my canister, this would be the time. Oh, I probably got to stop talking and count since I'm still not 100% sure I got the right amount of yeast. There's 3. And then we have 4. Where I can count in Sesame Street style. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Do 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 do. That's 5. Do 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 do. 11. Why do they always do 11? Y'all remember that? Or is that just the one I remember? I don't know. 5. Let's see. 6. Oh, over halfway. Halfway there. Let's see. My kids listened to Big Time Rush when they were little. That was barely music based. It's better than the stuff they listen to now. What? All right, so let's see. Here comes 8. And if you know me and you watch my channel, you know I'm totally stressing out right now because I dropped a little bit in the floor and I need to get it cleaned up as quickly as possible. But I'm working my level best to ignore it because I will then for sure lose count. And some of y'all are panicking at home because I know you're counting in your heads and you're thinking, come on, Leigh, you can do it, you can do it. And I did, I made it. Here's 10, woo! All right, 10 cups of white Lily all-purpose flour. Next thing we need is more sugar. So let me get my other measuring cup. All right, we need 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Again, we need our white Lily here. So there's 1/3, and you know you're going to mix it in, but I still like to sprinkle it over the top so that it's, oh, we see a big old chunk. If you see a chunk, just bust it up. All right, here we go. 2/3 of a cup of sugar. And let me just mix that real quickly just so we've got it smoothed out. And also to knock out some of the lumps in the flour. So it's an easy turning and mixing. Now we're going to add the shortening, and we need, it's so funny to watch how it gets so smooth. I'm sure my skin would look like that if I were this gentle with that. We need a quarter of a cup of shortening. And for that, look, I got my Ziploc bag in here. Now, this one, you can put it into your measuring cup and then it's not gonna come back out. So you've got to train your eyeball. And that's about a quarter of a cup right there, okay? So now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna drop it all in one chunk. That is not our friend. So we're gonna try and chunk it off and mix it around a little bit. Ah, dagnabbit. Okay, I was trying not to do that, yet here we are. Okay. Well, now comes the hard part. Put your hands in. Actually cover your shortening with a little flour, and then you can break it up into small bits and get it moved around in your flour and sugar combination. That is actually, y'all should probably cut that out as a separate little trick. Okay, to break up your shortening, take your big giant chunk, mix it in with some flour, and then just kind of take it off in little balls and move it around in the dry goods here. And it will be far easier to get it mixed in, and it will make a little less of a mess on your hands. Okay, so that is our quarter of a cup of shortening. And now we're going to just kind of mix it in here, kind of feeling for the little balls, okay? So you basically want to get it in here to where you hardly notice that there's any shortening. You don't want to like mix it crazy, but when you're putting your hands in it, when you find one that's kind of separated out, mix it into the flour and the sugar. Oh, there was a chunk of sugar. Ah, it snuck past me earlier. Nice try, Dixie Crystals. Nice try. And I will say, one of y'all got your coupon and went and bought some Dixie Crystals and admitted to me it was the best sugar you'd ever had. So I'm just going to say, White Lily, you know you're the best, but y'all need to send me some coupons to hand out too. I am just saying, because I'm pretty sure my fans would like that, especially my fans who are not from the South and don't know any different. Might be using some sketchy brand of flour that's not giving them the right results. All right, so I don't really feel any more chunks. I don't see it. You won't really see the shortening, okay? I told y'all, if you want to relax, get your fire back. This will do it. Okay, so now I can't see anything in here. Now I'm gradually gonna pour this into my wet ingredients. Before I do, you know I'm gonna have to rinse my hands off, right? Because I can't take it no more. All right. Make sure my shortening is off of there so I don't waste any of it. And for the record, those of y'all that have noticed my spigot, this is one of those ones, and I don't remember who made it, Delta. This is yeah, it's a Delta, where you can touch it with the back of your hand and cut it on and off so you don't have to mess up the handle. It's very handy until the battery starts to go. But anyway, so let's get our wet ingredients back. Get my wooden spoon here. And we are going to very slowly and gradually mix our flour into our wet ingredients. So got here on the side camera for you. And after I put about a third of it in, I'm going to mix. I'll do the next third and mix, and I'll do the last third and mix. Your goal here is to break it down so that it does not be super chunky. And you'll start to create your dough. And you'll know you've got the mixture correct when the dough starts to pull away from your bowl and starts to create its own little tack. And I don't want chunks, no chunks. This is like making gravy. We don't want lumps in our gravy. It's kind of funny to watch the yeast trying to carry it around the bowl. All right, yeast is very effective stuff. And just I want you to notice something. It doesn't take much yeast to take care of that giant amount of flour, and it's going to turn into something really delicious. Do you want me to remind y'all that that's what faith does? What? Yeah, a little faith leavens a whole bunch. And that's why in the world you don't have to be surrounded all the time, but you got to have your faith. Got to have your faith friends. If you don't have any, or if you're feeling a little bit out of sorts, look, I'll be your friend. Message me. I'll respond. It might take me a minute, but I will. And I'm already starting to see the change in the texture here. It's starting to slow down my spoon. But we are not pulled away by any stretch of the imagination. We are still very, very liquid. So let's put in, actually I probably went more like a quarter instead of third. but I'm really trying to get it nice and smooth. Now, the reason I don't want to get a mixer out, you can overmix, friends, and if you overmix dough, it's really tough. So if you ever wondered why you had a bad pie crust one time or pizza dough that was disgusting, it was probably because it got overmixed. Although my friends from New York will tell me it's something about the water in New York City, I guess, makes the right bagels and pizza crust or some such. And now my Chicago friends are going to pitch a fit that theirs is right. And frankly, it's all good because my people know how to make biscuits and collards and liver mush, and y'all are just missing out. I mean, honestly. All right, let's get the rest of our dry goods in here. Get our dough fully formed. All right. And you notice that the bowl has room for all of this. It's amazing. Okay. Now, you notice I'm mixing from my metal bowl into my glass bowl. I don't know if this is scientific or not, or if it's just what I learned from my daddy, but your dough will rise better in a glass bowl than in a metal bowl. And I imagine it's something to do with the heat transfer and metal and glass and conductivity and such. But science was never my super favorite topic because I liked English, loved history, enjoyed music all to pieces. I did fine in math, but it wasn't my love. Did fine in science, but it wasn't my love. So if you're a young person watching this, I'm just going to remind you, sometimes you don't love things and you got to power through because they're still important. Okay, let's get this pulled over here. Some of y'all are thinking, don't you have it mixed? I'm trying to make sure that all of my moisture is pretty evenly distributed with my dry goods here. Get closer to my camera so y'all can look at it. So I know y'all like to look at the pictures of cooking, and I do appreciate all the feedback y'all give in the comments. I am trying to do better. And if you have been with me since day one, you know this was an accidental project that I started. So I am delighted to be a student and let y'all learn along with me. Okay, we've got the moisture in. We have got the dough in. And now, here's what I'm going to do. Check the bottom right quick. Give it one scoop around the bottom. Okay, look, it has turned into dough. Do you see that? It has pulled up away from the bowl and it's looking like dough. So now it's time to let it rest. Look, that's the hardest commandment in the Bible, isn't it? To be still. But you don't get good bread by rushing it along. That's why I got rid of my bread machine, y'all. I had one. I didn't like the bread that came out of it. It didn't taste right. And I finally figured out it's because everything felt rushed. Some things need to develop. Okay. Come on off of there. All right, now. Yeah, I hate raw dough. So show me. Okay, the next thing you need is a hot towel. So I'm gonna get my heat back up on the sink for a second. Okay, you can taste the sugar in that. But you know, yeast rolls are supposed to be sweet. Like me. Okay. Now, let's get my cover towel. As soon as your water is hot, you are going to soak this in your hot water. We're going to cover our dough. We'll set it in a warm place. So I mentioned to y'all before that my fireplace is on. You might want to get your wood stove on, get your fire pit going. Now, if you don't have a fireplace, a wood stove, or any of those things, you can also put your oven on its lowest setting and set it in there to rise. You've just got to be careful that it's not high, because if it's high, it will dry the dough out. It won't rise correctly. So what I would suggest is your oven at its lowest setting with it barely cracked open. So it'll be definitely warmer than your house, but not hot and burning out your dough. Okay, so now we'll have my hot dish rag here. Make sure you wring it out, people. Do not put a sopping wet towel on your dough or it'll drip into it, and that would probably be pretty nasty. Okay. So we're gonna lay this across the top of our dough. All right, so here's our dough, all covered up with our nice warm dish towel. I'm gonna set it right in front of my fire. It's gonna sit here for about 45 minutes. It's gonna double in bulk. That's when you'll know it's ready to roll. So try to restrain yourself. Go have a cup of hot tea or something. Go read a book, take a nap, take a shower, and then come back and check this. And then I'll show you how we make this finished up so nice and easy. I'll see you in 45 minutes. Okay, so now we have this giant pile of dough and it's amazing. So what you want to get is a half a stick of butter, aka a quarter of a cup, and pour it over the top, and then we're going to knead that in to the butter. And get that all the way around the sides, pull it off the sides. And yes, real butter, by the way, friends. No margarine, none of that. I wish it was butter. I thought it was butter. Get real deal. Doesn't matter if it's salted or unsalted, by the way. That's just your personal preference. It will not affect the outcome here. All right, so get that in here and just enjoy the texture for about 2 minutes. You want to knead that butter all the way in and through. And it's gonna make, you see it's kind of turned into one big glob now, so it's no longer separated out. Definitely a little bit of a liquid feel. And that's because we're gonna turn this out onto a floured surface in a minute. So if it doesn't have the tacky feel right now, it can really dry out. So just a little bit of time. Again, this is your therapy. This is so good. I guess if you're the person who's using them little pop bubble things, I do not understand those in today's world. They're very popular. This seems to me to be as effective. So somebody in your house needs a pop bubble, put them to work kneading some yeast rolls, and shazam, they'll be happy as they can be. All right, so now that's a couple of minutes-ish. I could probably look at the counter on this video and see the timing because I didn't set a clock. But you'll kind of get the feel for it. You can tell when it is all evened out and it's got the right texture to it where your fingers can touch it, don't come away with a lot of dough on them. So now we're gonna let that rest for just a minute. And it's time to turn it out onto a floured surface. Now, while this was over by the fire, I cleaned my countertop. If you don't have a giant bar, then call your favorite realtor and we'll get you a house with one, or we'll hook you up with a contractor who can add one to your house, because you know, your favorite realtors, you know, like me, I know I'm your favorite realtor and cook. We have a whole list of people who can do lots of things for you. And frankly, my first phone call tomorrow is to my plumber because something wonky's going on with my well. And I'll call my guy Tim and he will hook me up. So I'm gonna spread out my flour on this surface. And after this thing has rested for just a few minutes, we're gonna turn it out. Now, we're gonna be ready to turn the oven on. Now, while our dough is kneaded and resting, don't we all wanna be kneaded? Amen, right? Cut your oven on to 400. And I know y'all expected 350. But 350 is for casseroles and baked goods. Bread needs a little higher temperature, so we're going to 400. And while we're resting, get yourself a round pan. I use a round cake pan. Let me find it for you in the cupboard over here. Okay, so another thing you can do while your oven is heating up and while your dough is resting is go ahead and grease your pans. Now, I like to cook mine in round pans. I use my round cake layer pan, which is also really good for cinnamon rolls, by the way, because one batch of cinnamon rolls fits in here just right. You could use the spray grease if you want. You could use the back of your butter wrapper. You know, as the young people say, you do you, boo. Which I find to be a very endearing comment. So let's get ourselves a couple of pans done here. Now, you can freeze these. You can leave these overnight. If you've ever had the, what's that brand? Sister Schubert or Sarah Schubert's or something, and you wonder, how can you freeze bread? You fix it this far, and then you'll freeze it before you bake it. Let me set this over here out of the way. Okay. Now comes the messiest part. We're going to turn out, let me get my knife ready, actually, because I'm going to need a knife. I think I'll use my fancy one that Eric Kistner made for me, because this is my favorite sharp knife. Hasn't cut me like my Cutco knife did, because Cutco's way too sharp. I love y'all Cutco. Kill myself on those good knives. All right. Look how nice that came out of that pan. Now, we're going to get this turned over onto the flour here so that it will roll. We don't have quite enough. It's gonna stick to my roller. Look at it continuing to grow. It's alive. That's why I love hot, fresh dough. It's amazing. Okay. So you see what we did with that dough on the countertop is it gives it enough tackiness, or it takes away the tackiness so that it will roll. All right, we want it to be about 1 inch thick before we take it apart. So I'm not even gonna roll mine because I don't need to roll it. I can pat it down, and plus that's gonna give it kind of a home slice kind of a look. I mean, it won't be nearly as fancy as what the Golden Corral has, but you know. All right, let's get that laid out. And now we're gonna cut this into 2-inch squares. All right, and my end ones, my little heels over here, we're gonna fix them up in a second because you can reshape a little bit. Now, don't spend too much time kneading and rolling because you will make your bread way too tough. Okay, now this one turned into a triangle because it was on the corner. So let's turn it into a square. Shazam, what? Look at all that math there, like I'm doing geometry and making Miss Overcash, God rest her soul, proud. Yeah, just kind of roll that into a ball, look. See, nothing super fancy. Let's put that in our pan right here. Get the next one. These are gonna be fat deliciousness right here. And I'm pretty sure that my family is gonna eat these in one sitting. And that's why I have to put 1 pan of them in the freezer, or there won't be any for the next time. And you'll find this on my channel a lot, y'all. I like to double things up whenever I can, because if you're gonna put the work in, get yourself some extra goodie out of it. Have something for your family to have on a day when you're out of time, or if you're sick, or somebody you know has fallen sick or has had a death in the family. You've got it ready to roll, and you don't have to start from scratch every time. So each pan should hold 8. And while I'm heating up over there, I'm gonna fill up a second one. And I see that I have company coming here behind me, probably ready for some bread. Because once these go in that 400 degrees, they'll cook for 12 minutes. Although if you like yours a little crispier, give it 1 extra. If you like yours a little bit doughier, give it 1 less. You know, that's how we roll around here. And if you're wondering why I don't just pick up little lumps and toss them in, because this is the way I was told to do it. So if you know anything about me, you know I do things as I'm told. Just kidding. Okay. And that's why y'all follow my channel, because you are free thinkers too. Amen and hallelujah. Let's get 2 more in here. This is going to be, oh my gosh, so good. So since we put the butter in, you don't have to baste them with butter when they come out. But if you're a lover of butter, then totally add more butter. I mean, right? Let's do 1 more pan full. So this recipe should give us 3 pans full. Just for all of my math genius out there, that's 24 rolls, which should be enough for Thanksgiving, a nice dinner, bar mitzvah, baptism, whatever you got people coming over for. You hook them up with some hot rolls, and they're going to think you're a genius. And who does not want to be a genius? Am I right? I am so right. Okay. And I wish I could give y'all some feel-o-vision. You would love how the texture of this feels, which reminds me of that book by Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. They had the feelies, if y'all remember. If you haven't read 1984 and Brave New World again recently, highly recommend you bust those out and then send a note to your high school English teacher and thank her for exposing you to that. Or I guess him. You might have had a high school English teacher who was a man, but those tend to be slightly more rare. Don't know why. See how my fingers are getting tacky because I've handled the dough so much now? I almost made it through. And here we are. You saw I had that little corner, and I incorporated it into a couple of them, so we'd have 3 even pans. Okay, so you notice that we got our pans ready. The oven is not heated yet. There is a reason that we did not heat the oven yet. We want to let these things continue rising before we put them in the oven. So I just want y'all to notice that since I put these things in the pan, they have continued to rise. And I guess you could probably do some kind of a time-lapse thing with where they started. They'll just about double before we put them in the oven. So just give your stuff a minute. Let me get a rag and I will clean up my mess. And so you know me, I like a clean kitchen. What a wonderful opportunity to clean before you bake. And if you are somebody else who likes a clean kitchen, then I reckon we're friends. And I do appreciate y'all coming to watch my channel. I feel like some of us have become friends since I started posting these back at the beginning of the COVID era. And that to me is one of the joys of the internet. As long as you don't find yourself typing in all caps with all exclamation points, you might meet some nice people too. And if y'all ever come around these parts, you can come say, hey, I'd be so glad. And if you need a realtor, you know who to call. I mean, for real, I'm totally ready to help you. So now if you were trying to plan ahead for something, you could also get them to this point, let them rise overnight, because remember, these are rising twice. This does not substitute for the rising in front of the fireplace. You can freeze them and bake them. Lots of different ways to handle it. Now, for me, I'm going to bake 1 pan, freeze 2, and you could also bake 2 and freeze 1. You could bake them all, go give them to your neighbor up the street who's having a rough day. I mean, we just love some flexibility with it. And look, I'm gonna promise y'all something. If you spend the time to make these, you will feel your stress has just melted away like the butter we put into these yeast rolls. All right, you ready for the big reveal? Because this is kind of like the siren song to get your family into the kitchen, because these are amazing. You're going to have to pull them apart with your little trusty spatula because they do kind of turn into one giant blob. Turn them out onto a plate. All right, now the tops are a little bit floury because I had flour on the countertop, if you remember. And let's cut them apart. So I can do this in the way that y'all want me to do for camera, which is cracking me up. I'm learning. Ah, that's so hot. Oh my gosh. Ah, look at that fluffy goodness right there. Put it here and check that out. That's good bread. Even if you're low carb, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that's worth it. Make sure you subscribe for more. Let me know if you make them and if it gives you your fire back too. I'll see you next time.